Strategic obfuscation, financial strangulation of the self-sufficient. Welcome. This is Silence Screams Loud Strength. I'm your host for Unmasking Justice, the invisible collapse. Today we are discussing this strategic obfuscation, not simply financial abuse, not simply litigation abuse, but the destabilization, the fragmentation of visibility itself. Because one of the least understood realities inside coercive control litigation is this: the destruction is often not immediate. It is procedural, financial, psychological, and cumulative. And by the time the system recognizes the collapse, the damage has already been operationalized through delay, opacity, exhaustion, and financial destabilization. This is masterclass about the financial strangulation, disclosure warfares, corporate fragmentation, coercive debt, credibility erosion, credit erosion, alter ego structures, and institutional blindness. Because increasingly, survivors are not merely surviving abuse, domestic abuse, financial abuse. They are surviving economic disappearance. This is where we must discuss the strategic obfuscation within family law proceedings. So what is strategic obfuscation actually? What does that look like? Strategic obfuscation is the deliberate use of complexity within family proceedings, opacity, fragmentation, delay, procedural overload, the narrowing and confusing to destabilize visibility and accountability. It frequently appears through corporate structures, disclosure inconsistency, financial asymmetry, procedural delay, and evidential exhaustion. Importantly, the objective is not always simply concealment. Often the objective is exhaustion, because once you are exhausted, people stop challenging, people stop investigating, people stop pursuing, stop remembering, and stop resisting. This is where coercive control evolves financially, not merely through direct deprivation, but through systemic destabilization. The alter ego problem within family law proceedings and non-disclosure and lack of piercing the corporate veil. Now let's talk about the alter ego structures. This is one of the least publicly understood areas of coercive financial litigation. The issue is not whether companies exist lawfully. The issue is whether corporate structures become operationally utilized to fragment visibility, minimize apparent resources, delay disclosures or not disclose at all, create evidential confusion, or prolong litigation imbalance. This creates financial distortion in family law proceedings because systems may encounter inconsistent disclosure, inaccessible assets, lifestyle congruence, and procedural opacity and fragmented financial narratives. Yet survivors frequently lack the forensic expertise, accounting access, litigation funding, financial investigation support, or procedural resources to challenge the complexity effectively. Meanwhile, the process continues, the costs escalate, participation deteriorates throughout the proceedings, and over time, financial strangulation becomes psychologically operational. This creates the erosion, credit erosion, and the coercive debt. Now let's discuss the coercive debt. Because modern economics or modern economic abuse increasingly operates through financial destabilization, debt exposure, credit erosion, and institutional fragmentation. This is where the FCA, the consumer, debt, banks, credit agencies, and safeguarding systems all become relevant simultaneously. Because while institutes study, consult, create reports, and investigate, credit files may already be collapsing or may already have collapsed. This creates enormous danger because financial systems continue interpreting coercive debt, litigation, induced instability, and procedural harm through ordinary risk frameworks. That means survivors of domestic abuse may become financially penalized for surviving coercive abuse itself. And once the credit deteriorates, housing destabilizes, borrowing collapses, and financial access disappears. Survival actually becomes operationally harder because you can't survive with a poor credit report. So the systematic siloed problem itself creates the disparity in equality of arms throughout the process. Now let's look at that. Look at the institutional fragmentation, one of the greatest structural failures in modern safeguarding. Because safeguarding doesn't mean protection to be able to participate in your hearing alone. Every institute requires safeguarding. It needs to see its part that it creates in the harm. The banks see financial strain. The litigation, the court sees the litigation process. The regulators see policy. The safeguarding agencies see family conflict. The credit agencies see risk behavior, but nobody sees that the integrated coercive system has created, because everyone plays a part in it. This is why silo becomes the abuser's greatest ally, because fragmented institutes produce fragmented accountability. No one wants to take account as to what part they have played in lack of safeguarding. This is why self-chain exists, because safeguarding cannot remain independent upon disconnected systems, fragmented oversight, and isolated procedural snapshots. The psychology of financial strangulation is real, and that financial destabilization is not merely economic, it is neurological upon the abuse victim. This is when your housing becomes, unstable and uncertain. The debt escalates, litigation continues, and visibility collapses. The nervous system enters into a chronic anticipatory survival mode. This affects cognitive function, sleep patterns, memory, concentration, emotional regulation, and participation itself. So when your participation is affected, your whole body collapses. And this is where strategic obfuscation becomes devastating, not only to the individual, but to the individual and the family, because procedural complexity itself becomes psychological warfare. Strategic obfuscation is not accidental confusion. It is created through lack of systems. It is weaponization of opacity, and unless systems evolve towards operational accountability across system visibility, real-time disclosures, and safeguarding continuity, financial strangulation will continue functioning as hidden architecture of coercive control. This is Samantha. Silence screams, loud strength, unmasking justice. This was strategic obfuscation, financial strangulation of self-sufficiency within family court. Until next time, thank you.